All right, so if you have been following me for a long time, you probably remember that time period where I was really fixated on the French language because I love the French language. It's so interesting. But one day, one of my followers commented on a video, okay, we get it. You speak French. So naturally after that, I just started making French content for like years. Obviously, I know those kind of things shouldn't bother you, but it kind of did for some reason. So I just kind of shifted gears and started going to Irish, which turned out to be a really good idea. Anyway, the video that we're about to make now, I've made several times already, but I'm a better storyteller now and my resources have come up a bit. So without further ado, where did French come from? Why does it sound the way it sounds? And other things. So in this area that we call France today, who was there first? Well, it was a people called the Gauls. They weren't just one nation of Gauls. It was all these little tribes that were actually kind of competing with each other. And they were all Gaulish tribes and they all pretty much spoke the same language, which was Gaulish. Oh, and I have to add that it wasn't just France. It was parts of Germany, Belgium, parts of Switzerland, northern Italy. All of these were Gaulish territories. And the Gaulish language was actually a Celtic language. So like related to Scottish, Irish, Welsh, and all those, but in a different way. This was a continental Celtic language. But like all the other continental Celtic languages, Gaulish went extinct, basically because of Julius Caesar. So when Julius Caesar and them got up there, the Romans got up there, they were like, we're not learning that. Y'all gonna have to learn Latin. We don't know what that is. Assimilate or else. The thing you come to learn about France over their history is the native language of the people is like oppressed all the time. They do not want you speaking that on this land. Eventually the Gauls came to be in subject to the Romans. They had to learn Latin, obviously, but this Latin was different because it was affected by their Gaulish language, the accent, some of the vocabulary, and over time, the very first Gallo-Italic dialects started to emerge. But as we all know, the Roman Empire eventually fell, and when that happened, boy, people started coming from all over Europe to try to get some hands on some of that land. And some of these people were Vikings that came from like Norway, and they settled down in that northern part of France where Normandy is today, and eventually the Norman language came to be birthed out of Norwegian, Danish, and Swedish Old Norse being mixed with the Gallo-Italic dialects that were being spoken there at the time. I think this is like 9th century. On the other side of the country, closer to Germany, these other people came down, the Franks, because you know they're trying to fill some of that power vacuum too left by the Romans when they dipped, and they brought their Frankish language down there, which was an Alemannic German dialect. It mixed with that Gallo-Italic dialect too and created the language that became known as Francien or Francais. These weren't even the only two languages that happened from these invasions and stuff. There were plenty of other languages that are mutually intelligible with French, or were at the time, that just kind of got wiped out. And when other Romance speakers wonder why there aren't other Romance languages that sound like French, there were plenty of them, but the government didn't like that. We'll get to that later. Even though Norman wasn't the prestige dialect, it definitely was not out of the story. Why? Because in 1066, and that's when this little boy from Normandy, who was a noble, went over to England to claim that throne. You know, he could do that because back then they were all kind of related to each other and still are. But anyway, Norman became the court language for England for like 300 years or something like that. And that is why today, when it is sitting on a plate in front of nobility, they are called beef, poultry, and mutton. But when they're out in the field with the peasants who spoke English, it is cow, chicken, and sheep.